Thanks, Amber. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the November 9th, 2023 Connecticut Paid Leave Board of Directors meeting. I am calling the meeting to order. The time is 9:01 by my time. And Amber, would you kindly take attendance?
Yes, thank you. All right. Ava Bermuda Zimmerman.
Present.
Isha Canada. Isha Canada.
Present. Can you hear me, Amber?
We can, yes, thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you.
Adrienne Cochran. I don't believe Adrienne has joined us yet, but I will circle back.
She's here.
Excellent. Good morning,
Adrienne.
We're doing roll call. Okay, we'll circle back.
Got it.
Sheila, there we go. Thank you. Sheila Hummel. I don't believe Sheila has joined us yet. Ellen McKitterick.
Present.
Fran Pastore.
Present.
Alice Pritchard.
Present.
John Scott. Has John joined us yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think
don't
so.
see it.
Okay, I'll circle back in just a moment. Mike Soltis.
Present.
Janae Woods-Weber.
Present.
Justin Zartman.
Present.
Okay, circling back to see if Sheila or John has joined us. Sheila, John? Not yet, but we'll keep an eye open. We do have a quorum. Thank you.
Holly is here too. I didn't hear you call her name. Holly Williams.
Apologies, Holly Williams.
That's
And
okay.
Adrienne.
That's
Here
okay.
you are.
I'm here.
Okay, we have a quorum. We're good to go.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Amber. And I would like to join the members of the and welcome the members of the public. Those that are joining us, welcome. First item on the agenda is we will take a motion to approve the October 12th minutes, which were distributed last week. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Thank you, Alice. Are there any corrections or further discussion? Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain. I wasn't present last month.
Thanks, Justin. Okay, the motion carries. Erin, we're looking forward to you leading us in a discussion regarding salary increases for the non-bargaining staff.
Thank you so much, Fran. So we have 38 staff people total, 37 excluding me, which is pertinent for this purpose because the resolution will not include me. 16 of our staff are in bargaining units, so their compensation is governed entirely and exclusively by the negotiations between the Office of Labor Relations within the Office of Policy and Management and their respective bargaining units. Each of the employees in bargaining units who have been on with the state for at least 6 months will get an annual increase in January. The way their pay plans work, they have a step plan, so everybody moves up a step, which is roughly equivalent to 3%. That leaves the question of what do we do with the non-bargaining unit folks? So traditional executive branch, legislative, and judicial branch employees who are not in bargaining units will be getting an equivalent increase of about 3% in January. This is because of Connecticut General Statute 5-200P, which states that non-bargaining unit employees shall be granted the rights and benefits equivalent to those granted to employees covered by bargaining units. But for us, because we're a quasi, we're led by a board, it's not automatic. The board has the authority to set the compensation rates for our non-bargaining unit staff. And so I'm asking the board for a resolution to approve a 3% raise for our non-bargaining unit staff. We think that this is fair from a position of equity, even though we have this distinction because that's the way the statute is set up, and this we don't really see that distinction in our own day-to-day operations. Also, we certainly have learned from the experience of the state when they did not make equivalent raises between bargaining unit and non-bargaining unit, the result was salary compression and sometimes inversion, which is something that is really problematic to solve. So the best way to solve it is to never start it. And it's just a basic fairness. And so the reason I'm excluding myself from this is for the bylaws, the board has to do an annual performance evaluation with me, and salary is sort of part of that discussion. So we'll handle that separately. But I would ask that you consider a resolution to approve a 3% increase for our non-bargaining unit staff to take effect in January, when the annual increases go into effect for the rest of state government. I will say that these funds are already accounted for in our fiscal year budget. So when the budget was developed last spring, it accounted for the expectation that this would occur. So there's no need to transfer any funds or do anything. We just need the actual imprimatur from the board. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, anyone?
I just had a comment, not a question. That in our policy committee, we did take a vote to support Aaron's recommendations.
Thank you, Ava.
Thanks, Ava. That's really helpful and good to know. May I have a motion to authorize the authority to process the January 2024 annual salary increases for the authority staff who are not members of bargaining units?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. So we are looking forward, John, to your quarterly claims update.
Morning, everyone.
Good
I'm
morning.
just gonna share my screen. Oh, it looks like I need
You should be
access
all
for
set.
sharing. Okay, thank you. Okay. And let me just get into presenter mode, and then if you can just tell me,
We can see your screen, John.
okay. Do you see notes on the side or not?
We do.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I will swap that view. Now, do we have a full screen?
Perfect.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so update for claims for November 9th. Claims filed as of 11/6, just under 174,000. The 3-month trend that you're looking at is 22,964 claims received with a monthly moving average of 7,655. Year over year, October claim volume was slightly higher, and payments are trending up with increased average claim duration and a higher maximum benefit rate. And on this screen, we have the claims by leave reason, and you can see the breakdown of percentages here of the 4 top categories: employees' own illness or injury at 55, pregnancy, childbirth at almost 16, bonding at 14, and care of a family member at 14% of the total claim load as well. You can also see other types of claims that are certainly filed at a much lower frequency, and also the year-to-date totals associated with family violence, adoption, foster care, bone marrow organ donation, and military leave. And this slide represents year-to-date cumulative claims by leave reason with the percentage of claims filed by gender. One thing to note here is that with changes made in the streamlining of pregnancy and bonding cases into a single case for females, under the pregnancy claim, there has been a significant increase in the number of male versus female bonding cases. This has also decreased the overall ratio of female to male claims. And you can see what those totals look like for all leaves on the bottom. Overall totals for 2023 female claims at 60.4%. Prior to that change, that was probably running at about 2 to 1 at about 66, 67% of claims. So that the removal of that bonding segment from the caseload has reduced that number to 60%. Okay, and this is the claim status, percent of total adjudicated claims, approved claims for the 6 months, May to October period, totaling almost 28,000, with an approval rate increasing to 73.5%. Denied claims at a little over 10,000 with a denial rate of 26.5%. Cumulative statistics show over 110,000 approved claims at a slightly lower approval rate of 70%, and 47,000 denied claims with a slightly higher denial rate there as well. And these cumulative figures include the large number of COVID claims received in the first quarter of 22, that many of which were ultimately denied, somewhere in the 80% range. And this slide I prepared for you shows actual claims received in blue, the bonding segment of pregnancy claims as if counted as a separate case in orange, and the resulting total at the top of each column. The percentage increase these cases represent over the actual claims received is displayed in the orange band. And this slide is intended to provide an illustration of case growth if we had not initiated streamlined pregnancy and bonding case filing as a comparison to other state paid leave programs that count bonding cases separately. So a couple of things to note here as well, that with that change, the difference here with the bonding segment of those pregnancy cases is about a 12% average increase over actual claims filed. And then taking a look to the right there at the average monthlies from last year, 2022 at 74.94 versus the average from March through October of 2023 at 83.37. That's an 11.26% increase in average monthly cases over the 22 monthly average. And this slide is the 2023 total weekly claims payment amount with a trend line that shows a steady increase in payments made in 2023. One note here is that the minimum wage has increased by 7.14% on June 1st of this year, and will increase again on January 1st of 24 to $15.69 per hour. This is an additional 4.6% increase from the current minimum wage of $15 per hour. The maximum benefit rate will increase on January 1st to about $941 from the current $900 per week. And payments released have increased to almost 900,000 payments to over 85,000 unique employees, totaling over $526 million through the end of October. And this slide shows pregnancy and bonding cases streamlined into one case. Female bonding cases have decreased as expected, while pregnancy cases have remained relatively constant. Actual monthly claim numbers and each category's percentage of total monthly claim intake is also shown. Customer feedback has been very positive on the streamlined process. Survey comments such as very easy process and very helpful during pregnancy, very helpful for parents of a newborn. The process change has resulted in shorter processing and payment timelines as well. And also a pilot for proof of concept is in early planning stages to process bonding claims as a companion claim potentially. We're still looking at that as a possibility to kind of tag on to the success that we've had in the pregnancy cases with respect to the customer service and productivity improvements. And this is bonding claims filed by month, shows the expected trend of reduced total number of bonding cases, while the ratio of male to female cases has increased from 44% in January to 83% in October. AFLAC implemented optional race and ethnicity questionnaire on claims intake in August, And this will enable us to evaluate and report on this additional demographic information at the claims level when reporting claim statistics in the near future. And this slide is callback and approval rates for all claims and for pregnancy claims segment. This slide shows customer service improvement and associated claim approval rate increases in both the pregnancy claim segment and for the program overall. And you can see going back to Q4 of 22 and early in 23, the improvements in the reduction in callback volume on all cases and the improvements in approval rates from left to right, and the same with respect to the callback and approval rates for pregnancy claims show an even more dramatic change with regard to the reduction in callback volume and the increase in approval rates, now ranging up into the high 80% range for those pregnancy cases in the last several months. And this slide shows over the last 36 weeks the customer call volume, which has been reduced by 7.8%, a sustained decrease in customer call volume, while claims per day remained relatively constant or grew a bit. We believe this is a result of system and process enhancements we previewed for you earlier this year. These enhancements include the document dashboard, streamlining of pregnancy and bonding cases into a single case, more timely return of customer calls and portal messages, the addition of the 5 and 10-day push text reminders to customers' smartphones, and insufficient documentation letters. Claim processing times have also improved to an average of 4.1 days to decision after receipt of all necessary documentation. And this shows the year-to-date returned customer calls and messages. And at this point, a combined average of about 98% of callbacks and messages have been returned within 1 to 3 business days. And in some cases, 100% here in the past couple of months, 98, 99, 100%. And this slide is a recent addition to our reporting and illustrates customers' electronic filing, portal usage, and electronic communication. Web filing remains strong at 63% of claims filed. Opt-in for email and text messaging is very high at 85 and 78% respectively. Portal messaging is also a highly utilized mode of communication for claimants. Aflac IT has also recently developed a beta administrative portal to enhance the authority's view into claimant case details and improve reporting. Benefits and operations team members have been providing feedback on this new portal to collaborate with Aflac on incremental improvements. CPPL's redesigned website has also launched. And for claims, the website features a streamlined layout with easier access to improved claims filing and benefit information. We believe this will help in our efforts to educate claimants and to improve their ability to successfully file a claim independently. And we've had some good feedback about that, and with some of the customer service activity that we've had in driving them into that website, they have had success in their ability to file, etc. And that concludes the presentation. Any questions?
John, I have a question. This is
Sure.
Mike. How
Hi,
are you?
Mike. Good. How are you?
Good. In times past, we've talked about some significant percent of the denials are due to the applicant's failure to provide supporting documentation. How is that trend going?
So the overall approval numbers certainly is an indicator that we've had some success there. The reality is that the main reason for denial is still lack of complete documentation being returned to the authority, and that's still in the probably mid-70s to almost 80% range reason for denial. We are actively working with Aflac Aflac on ways to try to mitigate that by providing an automatic extension for filers that are lagging on providing documents and providing them a notification to that effect. And also my team internally certainly has been available for any folks that reach out to us that need any assistance in that regard to help get their documents completed and turned in to Aflac for claims processing. I also think that some of the other things that we've done, and particularly the new website, is a boon to customers' ability to visualize and understand the material. Much easier to, I think, identify the steps that you need to take in order to successfully file your claim, and also has information on the back end about the return of those documents and the importance of doing so, et cetera.
Okay, well, I hope all of those efforts lead to a decline in the number of denials for lack of documentation, because I presume some percent of that, of those individuals have legitimate claims that just aren't being filed. So,
Yeah, and
thank you.
You're welcome.
I just
Holly,
wanted
thank
to
you.
add, oh, sorry,
Oh.
if I may, I wanted to add that the library outreach that Maddie has really taken the lead on, and Maddie and Jess have been covering, in addition to some of the other activities, including partnering with Access Health for in-person events. Sorry. Those are things that we're trying to do to help people also, if they need assistance, for us to be available to them.
Thank you. Holly?
Yes, I had a question, and it might be something that we'll have to follow up on at a subsequent meeting, but how does the claims data that we're seeing now, where we're seeing this precipitous increase, which is what we will want to see, because we want to see people availing themselves of the benefits that they're contributing to, how does it relate to the inputs that were in the sensitivity analysis that was done regarding the fund solvency? I guess, is the data that we're seeing, like, how old was the data that was underlying that solvency evaluation?
It's a good question. So the solvency evaluation looked at the data from the previous 12 months, but they were aware of the trends toward increase. So, so even though it's kind of looked at the past 12 months, they did take into consideration the ongoing trends that they saw in the spring, and they accounted for some increase in their take-up rates and approval rates in their assumptions. But as we talked about last month, it's small margins make big differences. And, you know, I think when they do their next quarterly update, they'll have the benefit of this new information as well to kind of take into consideration. So that's why, you know, they were very clear that there are assumptions and these are the factors, and, you know, the take-up rates could be different or could increase more quickly than they accounted for. And that's why they gave us those other options in the October meeting. We shared some of those other trend lines if the take-up rates happened faster than assumed.
Right.
Okay.
And that, oh, I'm sorry.
sorry.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, going back to this other slide, I mean, that's a pretty good indicator on the payment trend weekly as well. You know, that kind of bears out some of the growth of the program, both in terms of payment terms and as well as the numbers of filers and duration, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a definitely a moving target, right? So that's one of the reasons why we have them give us quarterly updates, so that it's, you know, you kind of have, anytime you're throwing the ball, you kind of have to kind of throw it farther ahead and hope that the person who's supposed to catch it runs to catch up with it. And so now we're just trying to hone in on how far ahead we are, or if not, hopefully we're still far enough ahead so that the numbers haven't changed too much.
Okay, that's helpful because I would think that given the growth that we're seeing in the program, which is again what we want, you know, to the extent that we're beating or exceeding their expectations is going to kind of dampen that steady state. I think it's like the orange line on that sensitivity chart. So it's good to keep monitoring this, particularly if our education campaigns are going to get better at putting some downward pressure on that denial number, which is ultimately what we would want to see if the denials are because of paperwork issues. All right, well, that was helpful. So we'll look forward to their next quarterly update to us then. So thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Anybody else? I wanted to say that I was impressed and happy to see the numbers of bonding time that that men are taking. And I'd love to see that increase. I'm also impressed with the number of folks who have signed up for email and text prompts. I think that is really great, and that really shows I think that people are saying this is something I need to pay attention to. I need to make sure I'm engaged on this topic. I wanted to also just comment on the denial piece. And I've said this before, it's easy for people to get frustrated. I see this at WBDC all the time. When people are applying for grants, we might have a couple of hundred applications started, and then halfway through or 2/3 through, people are submitting their application and they're getting denied, right? And so we have basically, I've said this a couple of times, but we see the same trends, and just like we're trying to figure that out at paid leave, we're trying to do the same. I'm always interested, and John, I was happy to hear you say this too, that I'm always interested in looking at who is getting denied and how could we better support them and help them. So just putting that out there as well. But thank you, great report. Anybody else? Okay, we will move right along.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice job. Thank you so much for all the detail. So helpful. Jessica, will you please provide us with the report on the new Connecticut Paid Leave website?
Yes, absolutely. Amber, can I have permission to share, please?
You should be all set.
Great, thank you.
We can see
All
your
right.
screen.
Thank you. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of some of the, there's a lot of great new features, but some of the, most prominent ones on our new website. So first, starting here on the home page, we now can have our site translated into 9 different languages, which is great. Another key thing, which was not part of our old site, is that the entire site is searchable. So by clicking on this search button, the user can type in any term that they're interested in, and this will pull up all the references to that. So for example, I typed FMLA, it will pull up all the references to that on our site, which is great, just easy for people to find what they're looking for more quickly. We also, on our homepage, have some testimonial videos, which is wonderful. We know our whole program is about people and helping people, so I love that we're able to highlight folks. We also have the ability to update our news stories quickly and easily. That's one of the great things about this website, is that we have much more control over content and the ability to update it ourselves without the need for coding, which is what needed to happen on our previous site. So now we can make updates very quickly. So I'm able to update and put Nancy's newest podcasts up, our newest news and information, etc. Another key thing is, and I wish Molly was here, because I always think of Molly when I talk about FMLA and the differences and how that's, still something that's very confusing for folks. So we have a dedicated page all about the differences between the two programs, FMLA and paid leave, and also how they work together. we tried to use graphical elements wherever we could just to make it really easy at a glance to understand these differences. Throughout our site, we also have embedded videos. So we've developed a lot of video content over the past couple of years, but previously it primarily lived on our YouTube page. So we now have the ability to embed these videos so that folks can watch them directly from the site without having to leave the site and go to YouTube. We also have just kind of broken down all the basics about paid leave into more succinct sections so that it's easy for people to focus in on exactly what they're looking for. For example, each qualifying reason has its own page where someone can go to find out all the specifics about that particular reason that they might be applying, whereas on our previous site, everything was sort of condensed into one page. In regard to claims, John referenced our new site, so I just wanted to show you, we have now broken down the claims process into everything someone will need to know before they apply, how they apply, and then after they apply. So we've really taken a lot of time to think about the content, how it's presented, and give people a lot of different ways to take that information in. One of the best things, in my opinion, about this new site is we have created this application document checklist page. So even before someone applies, they can go and look at this and see what kind of information they will need to provide. We tell them what's required. We also have some functionality where, for example, they see that the employment verification form is required, but they can toggle back and forth if they're a sole proprietor or if they're an employee to get the appropriate information that applies to them. Throughout this page, we also have these little thumbnail samples that someone can click on and expand. So again, even before they apply, they could take a look at any of these forms and see what sort of information they will be asked for, or their employer or healthcare provider will be asked for. We also have a section where they can select the reason for their leave. And again, they will see the specific information and documents that are going to pertain to that particular type of leave. So we know we ask people to apply 30 days in advance. Well, perhaps someone knows 60 or 90 days in advance that they're going to need to apply, and they want to sort of get a head start by seeing what kind of information they'll need. This is a great source for that. We then have our businesses and employers section. So we have broken down the specific information for each different role: employer, sole proprietor, or third-party administrator. And we also have given each of those folks their own separate page pertaining to registration, with videos that walk them through how to register for the program, and then specific information that pertains to them. Again, all throughout the site, we have thumbnail images that can be expanded so that someone can get sort of an advanced preview of what they're going to need to do when they go through this process. For contributions, we've really expanded the information that we provide, breaking it down both into batch contribution, which is what our TPAs primarily use, and online portal contributions, which is more so what our folks who are filing on behalf of their own business are doing. So again, lots of information, lots of screenshots, trying to give people everything they need to successfully navigate whatever they're trying to do. Another one of my favorite parts of the new site is our resources and guides page. So this is an area where we've aggregated all of the information that pertains to a particular person's role. So the person can click on the persona, if you will, that applies to them, and they can get in one place all of the information that does exist in other places on the site, but now it's all here in one place as well. So different documents and PDFs to download, different videos to watch, pages within the site that we feel might be useful for this person, and then other external websites that might be useful for them as well. We also have created a page on how to create an account with ct.gov, since that is the first step for anyone, whether an employer or employee TPA, to interact with us. So we've created this page to really easily explain to them what they need to do for that. We have, of course, our About Us page, and I would be remiss not to highlight all of your beautiful headshots. So thank you for working with Amber and I to give us all of those images. We appreciate that. Our news and media page, this is great because previously it was difficult for us to pull up our or post our most recent press releases, et cetera. So now we have this functionality where it pulls in an RSS feed from medium.com, which is the website that I use to post all of our press releases. And so it automatically pulls in everything that I post, which allows someone to go through and read about anything that we have put out there. And then lastly, our contact us page. So lastly, our contact us page, similar to what we have always had with the form that someone can fill out in order to contact United Way. But we also have some information to try to guide people if they are trying to figure out about the claims process, press releases, media, etc. So we're very pleased with the feedback we've received on the site so far. Again, you know, we are really excited about the fact that we can now update our content very quickly and respond if we need to get information out there right away to the folks that we're serving. So I'm happy to answer any questions or if anyone wants me to jump to a particular page.
So well done. It's so user-friendly. It's 1,000 times more user-friendly than the prior website. So congratulations to all of you. I think it's great. Really looks good. Yeah, Holly.
I would just have to say, I'm not usually one to give praise on meetings. I think it sometimes adds to the minutes, but I would just say it's not traditionally state government's forte to be a clear communicator as process, not because we don't aspire to that, but just the volume of things that we're responsible for often, unfortunately, that's the last thing on the list. But I think that you've demonstrated that it can be achieved. And so I too, like, I think just as a mom, I like a checklist. So kudos to the work that you guys did in putting this together.
Thank you.
Well said.
And as I've said before, I get the pleasure of being able to show you this, but there have been so many people that put so many countless hours into making this come to life. So thank you for recognizing all the hard work that went into it.
Well done. Anybody else have any comments before we move on? Okay, thank you, Jessica. Was it Miranda that did that or someone else?
No, so the vendor is Tyler Tech and the platform is Sitecore, which is what many of the other state agencies use. But we on the authority staff worked with them to work on all the design elements and functionality and content and the whole 9 yards.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Mike, you're up on the Policy and Personnel Committee.
Okay, good morning. Our committee met this month and we discussed two issues. One, the salary increases for non-bargaining unit employees, which we just voted on a few minutes ago. And the second was Michael gave us an update on private plan renewals. And that's our report.
Okay, thank you. I know Molly, Molly's not here, right?
Jess, do you want to talk
Yeah.
about what outreach and engagement talked about last month?
Sure. So we just went over some of the new and ongoing initiatives, such as the library campaign. Maddie reported out on some of the legislative efforts, including the Hispanic Heritage Month panel. And we talked a bit more about our regional outreach strategy that we are working to implement.
Thanks, Jess. Thank you. Okay, Finance and Audit, Holly.
Hi, yes, the committee did not meet last month, but Dave is still going to walk you through the financials this morning.
Excellent. Dave, you're up.
All right, thank you, and good morning, everybody. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen, please.
It's working
Still
on it.
loading. There we go. All set.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So we're going to go over the results for the month of September. For the month of September, let's start with the operating budget. For the operating budget, we had total expenses of almost $1.1 million this month. That was led us to be over $82,000 ahead of budget. For total income less expenses, we were $171,000 ahead of budget, and that we are attributing to our fund recovery activities. We got over $88,000 of penalties this month. So I do want to thank my staff for their efforts in following up with employers so that everybody pays on time and in full. And those penalties go towards the expenses that the authority pays for its fund recovery efforts. Moving on to the expenses, the majority of the expenses that make up the $1.1 million were the typical categories. Payroll and related was over $601,000. We had some IT consulting expenses, the contact center, some software licenses, and so those were the bulk of the expenses. You will see for the month of September, we did have some negative variances for IT consulting and software. Those were just timing differences. We had some IT consulting expenses that we paid this month that had been budgeted earlier. And for the IT software license, we actually paid an annual expense in September that was budgeted to be paid later in the year because now we're paying on the same time frame as the rest of the state. So even though there's a year-to-date negative variance, that will zero out by the end of the year. So year-to-date, our expenses are $3 million, but we're ahead of budget by $817,000 so far through September. Moving on to our bond money. Most of the bond money this month of the $284,000 spent was on the website redesign and replatform. We went live over a month ago now, so we paid everything we owed them in full once we were satisfied that the platform was working the way it should, which obviously it was, because just showed us that. So that led to the negative variance for the month. We also do have a negative variance for the year. Again, that's because of the website redesign. We were expecting to pay a lot of these expenses the prior fiscal year, but as is wont to happen with these projects, they go a little longer than expected. So we made the payments this fiscal year. But in total, we're still okay because out of the $16 million allocated, we spent about $13.5 million so far, with over $2.4 million allocated. You may notice that this schedule looks somewhat different than what you're used to seeing in the past. We're currently in the process of requesting additional bond funds by the end of this year. And while we were doing that, we clarified that the state accounts for these allocations in total when they're given, and not by specific project. So we updated the schedule to reflect that. The total allocations hasn't changed. The total spending hasn't changed. We just changed the way the allocations are reflected. So again, in total, everything's the same, and we have over $2.4 million remaining. Moving on to the contribution activity for the month of September. The net activity was $26 million. We were $3.5 million ahead of budget. That was primarily driven by the positive benefits claim variance. We paid over $27.8 million in benefits this month. That averages to about $7 million a week. Contributions for the month were about $790,000, lower than what we budgeted. But we did get additional fund recovery contributions thanks to those efforts. And our investment income was also higher than budgeted because the rate is higher than what we had budgeted conservatively. Year to date, our contribution activity is $24.5 million. That's $14.5 million better than budget. And that's driven by the positive variances in benefits paid, in contribution revenue, in the investment income, and the administrative fees that we didn't transfer over the first quarter because we had enough funds in the operational budget to cover it. In terms of where the contribution fund is at the end of September, the fund has just under $523 million. Again, driven by the contribution revenue, less the benefits paid, rather. Those are the main drivers. In terms of the balance sheet, total assets are $538 million. And the biggest asset on our books is what's in our short-term investment fund at almost $510 million. Just a preview of what's happening in October. Nothing really unusual. We had operating expenses of $931,000. The typical categories of expenses were what was spent. As John had indicated, there was an uptick in benefits paid in the month of October. We paid $29.4 million. That was $1.5 million over the prior month, and we averaged $7.4 million. So we are seeing an uptick in benefits paid in October as compared to the prior month. The month of October was one of the 4 times a year when contributions are due. So that's when most employers and their third-party administrators pay. So we got over $103 million in the month, which makes up most of the money for the quarter. So that's what's going on financially for the authority, the month of September and October. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much. Okay, Erin, do you have your CEO report to share?
I do. Thank you so much. So a few updates. First, I just want to publicly congratulate Dave for being recognized by the Hartford Business Journal Annual C-Suite Awards. We know that he's amazing, and now the rest of Hartford knows, and their subscribers know too. So congratulations, Dave. Secondly, later today, Ellen and I are going to be giving a joint DOL CTP Leave Authority webinar on FMLA and paid leave. So it's a great opportunity for us to continue our partnership with DOL and to help combat persistent confusion about the differences of those two laws. So I appreciate Ellen's invitation to have me join her. Third, next week, I'll actually be a panelist at the State Paid Family Leave Academy, hosted by the Prenatal to 3 Policy Impact Center at Vanderbilt University, which I'm looking forward to. It's an opportunity not only to share what we're doing, but to hear from other states and to provide information, experience, and guidance from the existing states like New Jersey and Washington State, who are also on the panels, with some states that are interested in developing their own programs. This is an effort that has been mostly in the northern half of the country. And so Vanderbilt has a lot of attendees from some of the southern states, which are trying to develop their own programs. So I'm excited to be participating in that. I will have to miss both next week's committee meetings, the O&E and Finance Committee meetings, but Jess and Dave will carry on incredibly well without me. We will be sending you all updated contact information sheets that we'd appreciate it if you would complete, just so we know that we have the best way of communicating with you. We're also developing a form, O&E has seen this, that we're asking you, if you feel comfortable, sharing with us the organizations, charities, other affiliations you may have, so that we can amplify our impact. For example, if we are doing some sort of program with the American Cancer Society, I think that's the wrong name, but in any event, and you are a board member, it would be really great to know that in advance so that you're not taken by surprise. So be on the lookout in your email to see those forms coming in. And finally, just so you are aware, we do have an RFP for legal services that has been posted on the state contracting portal thank you to Mike, as well as assistance from Jess in getting it posted. Our statutory requirements do require us to go out to bid for financial and legal services every 3 years. And so our original legal services RFP is coming up. So if you know anyone who might be interested, send them to the state contracting portal to look for our posting. Or if anyone wants, I can send it on directly. So that's my update. Any questions?
Thanks, Erin, and congratulations on being asked to sit on that panel. Very apropos. Any old business? New business? Okay. Have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you. Rick. Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Everybody gets a little extra time back in their day. Have a fabulous weekend and stay safe. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.